Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to part 3 of Charlie's Edition, the Joy of Gay Sex series. Tonight we're talking about basically the whole AIDS and HIV virus. If you have not checked out last week's Charlie's Edition show, be sure to go back in my videos and check that out. Basically happened last week, but I was talking about the different types of STDs there are out there, and the symptoms and people not knowing that they have it and stuff like that. Tonight we've been talking about nothing but the AIDS and HIV thing, which is very important information. Learning as I go, so I hope you guys are too. Please be sure to leave your comments and anything, any questions. Please leave them right here in my video. They can be answered next week on Charlie's Edition. So let's go ahead and continue. Alright, so basically our next section is why is HAART more effective for some men than others? Basically, gay men who are infected with the virus 10 or more years ago may still suffer from one or more opportunistic illnesses. They may also have more trouble tolerating some antiviral medications. It's not unusual for these men to suffer from frequent diarrhea, debilitating headaches, and other complaints. Their doctors are usually able to switch them to other effective antivirals, which may have fewer side effects. At last count, about 20 drugs were approved by the FDA. There is a sound principle here. It's easier to keep a healthy person well than cure a sick person. The medical term adherence is also one of the factors that influence the effectiveness of HAART. This means sticking faithfully to the time schedule for taking your medication. If you miss more than 1 out of 20 doses of your antiviral cocktail, your body may become resistant to the antiviral therapy, making HAART much less effective. The mentally ill, significantly depressed men, and those who are alcoholic or drug abusers are at greater risk for missing doses and therefore screwing up their treatment. 90% of diagnosed men who adhere to drug therapy do extraordinarily well. The other 10% usually do better when they are switched to a different cocktail. The often reported debilitating side effects of the cocktail are less common for most newly diagnosed men, although your doctor may need time to fine-tune your meds. Until he finds the right antiviral, you may experience a number of minor but uncomfortable problems. Because of HAART, the death rate from AIDS in the United States have declined by 95%, but that means a small number of men have not been helped. Fortunately, more antiretroviral medications are being tested and may become suitable for these men. So, you guys are probably wondering what cocktail means, and I'm actually going to go back a couple of pages here and read exactly what a cocktail is, for those of you who do not know what that is. Let me see. Basically, a cocktail is a combination of 3 or more different antiviral drugs. Yeah, so basically it's just a, as it says, a combination of 3 or more different antiviral drugs. So here's the question that I actually saw an article a few months ago that they did some tests on a guy involving AIDS. Like, say that he had AIDS, and then they did this some type of surgery, I think. Not surgery, it's something with his bone marrow, I think, that actually got rid of his HIV. But I don't know if it's like escalated or not, but it was very interesting. I'll have to look that up, see if I can find it again. But when will vaccines be available? 2 kinds of HIV vaccines are being tested. The first is a therapeutic vaccine meant to slow the progression of the disease from those already infected. When available, it will probably cut down on, not eliminate, the need for HAART. The second vaccine is the traditional kind, using a dead virus meant to create immunity in unaffected people. Estimates are that both vaccines will be available within a decade. Even then, the long-term effects of the vaccines remain unknown. It's best to keep track of them via gay internet sites and the gay media. So definitely, I will actually look online and look up some information, some articles on that, and I will try to get some of that information available to show on next week's Charlie's Edition so that I can see if there's any updates on vaccines and stuff like that. So, herpes virus and HIV disease. Herpes is a family of viruses that cause a number of illnesses from cold sores, herpes simplex, to shingles, herpes zoster. The herpes virus group also includes CMV and EBV. None of these causes HIV disease. However, if you have the HIV, any dormant herpes viruses already in your body may be activated, and the CMV and EBV may break out, weakening an already compromised immune system. The symptoms are variable. There may be none, or the infected person may suffer from flu-like illnesses. Of course, not everyone has been exposed to the different herpes viruses, and therefore, not everyone with HIV disease will have complications because of them. Herpes-type viruses are usually easy to diagnose, and a variety of treatments are available. In addition to herpes, a number of common illnesses become harder to treat in the presence of HIV disease, such as CMV and venereal warts. But the most important of these is syphilis. This is yet another reason to practice safe sex. And once again, I'm going to remind you guys can definitely hear what syphilis, gonorrhea, venereal warts, herpes, you guys can hear what all of those STDs are, what they involve, in last week's Charlie's Edition show. So, like I said, go back in my videos and check those out. Some very, very important information. Very good information on that. Where are we at? Dang, I have 70 minutes already. Well, let me try to get this part out of the way. This is actually the last part of this. So, what are the social consequences of HIV disease? All HIV-positive men will inevitably face the question of whom to tell about their HIV status. Each gay man must decide whether to tell his family, friends, former lovers, and tricks. Telling each of them presents different problems. For instance, you may not yet be out to your parents, or you may be afraid of an excessive concern by your friends. But what seems to worry gay men most is how to handle their situation when tricking or dating. When tricking, most gay men believe that divulging one's HIV status is unnecessary as long as you always follow safe sex guidelines. That's the easy answer. More difficult is how to handle the situation if you begun dating someone. The inevitable question is when to tell him. The obvious fear is that your potential lover may flee for fear of contracting the disease himself. Unfortunately, this happens all too often. Many men just aren't mature enough to handle their fear. But if there is to be any future in your relationship, you cannot keep the secret for long, even if you are rigorously safe in your safe sex together. Your lover will feel that you have lied or betrayed him, and you can create a deep crevice in the development of trust between you. If he can't trust you about this, he'll think, how can I trust you about anything? The longer you put off telling your HIV status, the more difficult it will become to have the conversation. Our advice is to have the discussion sooner rather than later. If he's going to dump you, it's probably better to find out now instead of months after dating. Coming clean about your HIV status is the first step, but even the healthiest of relationships can be strained when one lover is positive and the other is negative. A great deal of potential psychological molasses can be produced in this situation. Sex can often become baffling because each lover is trying to be supportive, but the conflicting feelings of fear and responsibility contaminate the air. Couple counseling may be necessary to help the couple talk about their fears. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. That is basically some information about the HIV and AIDS virus. Definitely learned a lot out of reading this right here. And, you know, like I said, a lot of people don't even know that they have the virus because they don't like to get tested regularly, or they're scared to get tested regularly. All I can say is go get tested regularly. even though I'm not going to say I haven't had my share of fun, but over the years I've gotten more paranoid about it. And so basically every 3 months I go and I get myself tested, because there's a place that I go to that does free testing. So I'm like, it's free testing. I'd rather know what my status is, even if I'm not being inappropriate, because you never know. You just never know. Like I said, they said it's best to get tested every 3 months, but basically, because, that first 3 months you could have that test and be negative, but then, those antibodies are probably growing in your body, so then you have to go and get tested again just to make sure. So, it's always important. So if you are a person who is very highly actively sexual out there, straight, gay, bi, whatever the case may be, get yourself tested if you're having unprotected sex. God, I can't talk. So, and of course, you don't have to hear that from me. If you care about yourself and others, you will get yourself tested, and you will practice safe sex. So thank you guys very much for joining me here on Charlie's Edition for the Joy of Gay Sex series. I hope you guys found this informative and learned a lot out of it. So leave your comments. Remember, go back to last week's Charlie's Edition and check out the STDs. If you have not seen parts 1 and 2 of tonight's show, be sure to do that as well. You don't want to miss out on any information. So be sure to stay tuned for next week's Charlie's Edition, where I'm going to have hopefully some updated information, and we're going to talk about more topics out of the Joy of Gay Sex series. Thank you guys for joining in tonight, and I will talk to you guys soon. Holla.